Hey there, I'm Joshua, the audio guy. Today I'm going to be showing you how I'm taking various sounds and layering them together to create the sound for the Wisp, which is a character in the game Solterra that I'm currently working on with MythTech. Find us on them interwebs at mythtechstudios.com. So this Wisp character is basically going to be a little floating ball of dark energy and spirits of the dead that slowly approaches you, and if it gets too close, it initiates a self-explosion sequence that tries to destroy you. To create the sound for the Wisp, I've taken different audio samples that I've either recorded myself, that I've downloaded from freesfx.co.uk, or that I've designed using synths in FL Studio, and then I've layered these different sounds together to get just the right sound that I need for the Wisp. Now let's go inside the computer, and I'll show you a bit more about what I'm talking about, and you can hear some of the individual samples and how I've layered them to create the sounds for the Wisp. Alright, so here we are inside the computer. I'll open up Cubase. So these are the different samples I was talking about. Some of these I recorded, some of these were things I downloaded from freesfx.co.uk, and others are things I created using synths in FL Studio. So this sound here, for example, is a sound of the Wisp kind of just off in the distance as it floats, and I created this with a synth in FL Studio. Yeah, so that sound there will repeat a couple times, and it'll loop more or less so that it sounds somewhat constant but not droning. And each different Wisp will have a different note that it'll be playing, so hopefully I can do something with the programming that will allow me to have some dissonant chords going on when there are multiple Wisps on screen. We'll see how that works out. In addition to that, I have things that I recorded like breathing. So this is my roommate just taking some breaths. Now, it sounds really, really quiet like that, but when I put it on with the effects that I have inserted into it, see here I have this effect channel with compression, maximization. I've done some EQing to bring out some of these higher frequencies, added a big reverb on there. So with these effects, that will sound much cooler. Check this out now. So I wanted that breathing in there because I want these little energy orbs, since they're supposed to be partially spirits of the dead. I want them to have that human element, and so I've tried to add in some breathing to give that effect. Additionally, I have some wind sound. That's a sample I downloaded from freesfx.co.uk. And with the effects on that, what I've done is I've taken out all the low end. I've put on a high pass filter, so just the high end frequencies come through. And I've added a bunch of reverb, so it gives it this light sound. Here, listen to this. So it gives it a really, really high, light, crisp sort of sound as it sounds like it's floating on by. And so layered all together, that gives us the sound of the Wisp just as it exists. I'll mute the footsteps so you can hear just the sound of the Wisp as it's floating. So that's an example of what one of the Wisps will sound like. Now I also have the Wisp exploding over here. As I mentioned before, the Wisp kind of sucks in and then explodes. So what I did for that, first of all, I have our gunshot here. So you got to have a gunshot. Pow, got to kill it. So after you hit the Wisp, it becomes unstable. And so the Wisp, there's an animation where the light orbs kind of suck into the center of the Wisp for a moment, and then it explodes outward. And so what I've done here is, to make that sucking in sound, I've taken the sound of an explosion and I've just reversed it. And that's what this sounds like. Cool, so that's the sound of the Wisp sucking inward. And what I decided to do was I wanted to leave a little gap here where there's no sound, where it's just silence for just a moment, to give it that effect that you often see in like Hollywood films where something will suck in and have a pause and then explode. And it gives a lot more emphasis on the explosion if you give that tiny gap. So I've left this gap, and then I have the explosion, which consists of several different sounds layered. So for the main exploding portion of it, I have the sound of a firework, and I'll play that. So that has a good solid pop sound to it. Additionally, I have the sound of more breathy screaming that my roommate did. Here's the raw track. Sounds simple like that, but when I put the effects on it, you'll hear it. Sounds pretty cool that way. Additionally, I have the sound of a whoosh. I won a whoosh is an impacts sample pack from A Sound Effect. Check them out, A Sound Effect. They had a contest, and I won a sound pack made by Soundbits. Check those guys out too. Some great audio work from both these people. And this whoosh gives a nice, solid, bassy undertone. So subtle, but it gives it a kind of a cool feeling, and it's gives it that bassy feeling beneath. Because I want to have multiple frequencies being addressed here. So the explosion is sort of a mid-low range, high impact. The deep whoosh sound underneath. We have this higher screamy tone here. We have fireworks exploding here, and with the effects on, gives it a nice shimmer. So all those together, all these different sounds layered, give us a really cool sounding exploding wisp. So I'll play this whole scene together now. And I have footsteps in here as well to make it seem more real. So this is your character running in, seeing the wisp off in the distance. It's approaching. Character pulls up your gun, pow, shoots it, and the thing sucks in, and then that little gap, and then exploding. So we'll hear the whole thing now. And you run on and continue about your business. Yeah, so there you go. That's an example of what this all sounds like put together. I'll play just this last portion real quick again so you can hear the sound of the explosion one more time. Yeah, so there we go. That's just layering a bunch of different sounds and adding some effects like reverbs and compression and putting it all together and playing around until you get something that sounds good. And yeah, so there we go. This might change. This might not be the sound you hear in the game, but it's what I've got right now. And so I hope that was somewhat enjoyable to see a bit of the inner workings of how the audio side of this game is coming together. Thanks again for watching. I hope you're well.